welcome back to a new episode of the Tetracast, episode 319, recording on October 7, 2023. Happy October, everyone. We're here. As you can tell, I am Josh Torres. I am not your usual host for the Tetracast. Brian Vitali is still out and about. Hopefully, we'll have him back next week, but until then, you're stuck with me. Joining me is the usual crew. We have Adam Vitali.
You remembered my name this time.
I did it. I don't know why I forgot your name.
It's not like we've been working together for like 6 years or something like that.
Yeah, of course not. It's
Don't
just
worry,
like-
my best friend can't remember my own name sometimes.
I remember your name. Your name is Chow Min Woo.
Oh.
Back.
Oh no, I gotta change my name now.
Okay. Well, I get. All right, I guess. And then we have James Galizio returning with us as well.
I'm actually well rested this week.
Yeah,
Who would have thought?
you're here. You're active. You've gotten a full week's rest. Unlike last week, we just barely got back from Japan. You're like, I'm here. I gotta talk about it, and then collapsed after.
Yeah.
So nice to hear that you made a good recovery. This doesn't sound like you had like any illnesses or anything, or any sort of like just weird sicknesses coming back from your long trip. So that's good.
Well,
No con illnesses.
yeah, I mean, there's a slight bit of it, but nothing major. It's
Okay.
like, yeah.
Alright, that's good. That's good. And then you got your jet lagged all settled out and everything. This week, not a lot of news this week. It was a fairly quiet week. There's still some bits and pieces here and there, but there was a good amount of new releases this week.
We're at that part of the year where it's no news, only game releases until December, in which case the cycle begins anew.
Yeah, there's not really even like any gaming events for a while, like not on the calendar. That like not until like December-ish, I guess.
With TGAs, and that's basically it.
Yeah,
TGAs and Jump Festa.
right.
And Jump Festa is even more just anime jump stuff, right? Which might
Yeah,
have some
usually
games.
it's like sometimes, yeah, and then if the moons align, maybe Grand Blue Fantasy Fest will give us something to talk about too. Probably not. But other than that, yeah, the TGAs are really the things that we're probably looking forward to next for gaming events. This week we have Chow and James have been playing the new East game that released in Japan about like a week or so ago. So we found East 10 Nordics. I'll be talking about Silent Hope, which is the new game coming out of Exceeding Marvelous. I was torn between whether to buy Silent Hope or Disgaea 7, and then I decided to go with Silent Hope because I got save data to transfer over for the demo. And then Adam here is Adam into this release. He's playing an action RPG that came out several years ago called
2019?
Crystar.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's got to be 2019 because it was like pre-COVID. So
Yeah, it's called Crystar because he might want to check out an upcoming game called Cry Machina, which is technically not related to it, but just due to
They feel like
I'm
they're
curious
somehow
about
in the
Cry
same
Machina
bucket.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious about Cry Machina too.
Yeah. So starting off, we have Adol's new adventure with East 10 Nordics. James and Chow, you guys have been playing it. Let's start with you, Chow. What do you think of this new East game?
I think it's great. Like it's probably I know like it's not perfect, but it's a great use game. I think it's better than 9. I'm not quite sure I would rate it above 8 yet.
This is a big
Yeah.
shakeup, right? So East 10, it's finally like it's not going by the party system of 7, 8, and 9. It is a brand new system that has Adol and this new heroine named Karja, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's just those two characters are playable. It's like a duo system. It's no longer like like a standard 4-player party. Tell us more about how this game works, James. On like what's the battle system like?
Okay, so like every other East game in the last like 12, 13 years, when did East 7 come out? 2010?
A million years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Well, basically it still has skills for like that you like have SP use skills. The way that it's changed now is that, like you said, instead of it being a party system where the whole thing is okay, you swap between party members to kind of like break enemies that are weak to a specific element of attack, and then you can go ham. And it's like, okay, you want to switch your party members out depending on who you're fighting. There's still the skill system, obviously, and you're still switching between like multiple characters because you have Adol and Karja. But the way the gameplay works is very different. First off, Flash Evade as you know it, completely gone. Flash Guard as you know it, completely gone. It's kind of still there, but it's very different in how it works. And the best way to describe East 10's combat system is it's very much it's reactive, but also it really incentivizes you to play around, which is something that you couldn't really say of the previous like party system meets combat systems, because it very much got to the point where it's like you found the one skill that you liked and you just started spamming that whenever you had the SP for it, and there was really no downside to not doing that. No upside to not doing that. The way it works in East 10 is that both Adol and Karja have separate SP meters, and there is a chain attack system. But instead of the chain attack being the number of hits you get in on an opponent, it's instead the number of attacks that you do with skills that aren't the same skill in a row. And the higher the chain is, the less SP each of your skills does. So in practice, what you want to be doing is you want to be building up a chain between like Adol and Karja, and sometimes you're going to have to swap between them because it's like, okay, you've gotten as high as you can for chain with Adol, but if you wait for your SP to fill up, you're going to break the chain. So you need to switch to Karja and start like bringing it up on her end. And then once you get to a high enough chain, it's like, well, now you can just kind of like start spamming your stronger skills between the two of them, and even the combined skills, because you get such a not a discount, you get such a reduction of the base SP cost for them that it makes sense to like really kind of go ham with the combined mode, spamming those strong skills, because once your chain's high enough, it's like you're just kind of like, especially in boss fights, you're just like tearing through them, and it feels really satisfying because you have to still think about, okay, don't use the same skill in a row. Which skill do you want to use when? Because some skills are better for breaking enemies, because some stronger enemies have like a shield through HP bar first before you can like really damage them. And I don't know, what do you feel about the combat system, Chow?
I think it's like a good blend of the old party system and something of like the older Ys games from like Ys Open Ghana kind of period of times. At least that's how I feel, right? It feels more arcadey, if you get what I'm saying, which is something I would more prefer
the entire game, outside of like maybe the ceiling aspect, feels a lot more arcadey too. For better or worse, I'd say that while like Ys 8 and even Ys 9 to an extent really kind of focused on the on-foot exploration, that's really not the major aspect of Ys 10 this time. Like, you're not like on foot. You're only really exploring like islands that are very, very like, it's an experience that's very suited perhaps for the fact this is their first game releasing on Switch, like current generation, like new release. It definitely feels like something where it's like, well, we want to have the islands be something that you could maybe just like burst through in a short session on a Switch or something.
Yeah, to be clear about like your Switch like remark, it's like the first one like they're like releasing like side by side with the other releases simultaneously in Japan. So usually in Japan they would release like on PlayStation first, then Switch later, and then from what I understand is like the first one that they're releasing side by side on multiple platforms.
And the Switch port is competent. Some people might be worried that it might turn out like Ys 9, because I heard the Ys 9 Switch port wasn't that great when it first launched or something. Like, I mean,
Ys 9 is a whole nother can of worms, because even on PS4 that game does not run well. I'll say that, and I kind of glossed over it, but so like as you were talking about, you can switch between Adol and Karja, and then there's like the whole like chain system. The other thing is that while you can like fight as one of them alone, and then you can switch between them, there's also an ability called combine mode, where if you hold down the right trigger, you get access to those stronger combined skills, but also your regular attack is both of them at once. So it's like you do a lot of damage, you just can't move as quickly. So it's more like, okay, once an enemy's like kind of like tripped or something, you can just like kind of go ham with the regular attacks in combined mode. And then it's interesting. There's a lot to talk about with the combat system.
With the combined mode that you're talking about, when you hold down the right down trigger, like can you move them like simultaneously, like with 8 on the left stick and cards on the right stick?
No. They move as one. And
Okay.
one of the core conceits of the plot itself is the fact that basically Adel and Karja are connected by this thread, this rope. And literally, they cannot get more than like 15 feet apart or something like that.
Oh, okay. So that's actually like a central plot element of.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, like certain like bosses, or even enemies in general, like sometimes they have a glowing red flash, and if they do that, the only way you could guard it is to make sure you kind of like time it right and make sure both of them are guarding it together simultaneously.
Okay. To be fair, Chow's making it sound harder than it is. If both Adel and Karja are like alive and not knocked down, then all it takes is just holding down the R2, the right trigger, because that's also your guard button. If both of them are alive and you time R2 at the right time, you can guard against those power attacks, and then you can not only can you do a riposte if you time it right, but one of the other aspects of the combat system is the revenge gauge. Which, so when I said that like flash guard is still kind of there, but not really, the whole thing where like you flash guard and then for a period of time, all your attacks are critical hits, that's no longer a thing. Instead, guarding like against attacks will slowly raise the revenge gauge, but if you time them perfectly, it'll rise at a higher rate. And I call it a gauge, but really more it's like a multiplier. And so like at first it caps out at two times. You can find like items that like raise the cap. And what it does is that it makes it so that the next skill you do, that's the damage multiplier added on top of it. So like for bosses especially, you can like be reactive and it's like, okay, guard their attacks at just the exact moment, and suddenly you can like your next like combined skill does like 3 times the damage or something like that. And so it's like it feels very good. It like rewards you for like guarding, but it doesn't immediately break the game apart on its knee. And I feel like it's a good middle ground.
So when it comes to the structure of the game, like you're saying smaller islands, like are these smaller islands sort of like stages? Like how explorable are these islands like, compared to like East 8 or something?
Stages is a good way of kind of describing it. There's, I'd say this game, ironically enough, is structured very similarly to what, besides like the world map on the like with the sailing and whatnot. I don't know, Chow. I'm feeling maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but I get a bit of a Nayuta vibe to how long these stages are and how it feels structured.
Yeah, this game's pretty bite-sized in my opinion. Like the chapters, like you could probably estimate each length of each chapter. It was probably like 2 to 3 hours or something like that.
Yeah, longer if you do the side activities. And I guess one thing I will say is that I've seen some people complain about the sailing and how slow it is. Ironically enough, I feel like the way that the game's world map and sailing is structured feels a bit lopsided, in the sense that the beginning areas that you explore are way more wide open and bigger for your ship. But by the time you get your ship upgraded, like its speed, its attack, its defense, all sorts of things, the ability to use the mana sail to like boost. Once you get all that, like the areas you explore near the end of the game, they're smaller. They're smaller than the first like 3 areas you explore. Yet those 3 areas you explore first are the ones that would really benefit from the upgrades the most. So it's a bit weird. I like the sailing, but I completely understand some of the folks that might not.
They're definitely gonna like compare to like say Wind Waker.
I feel the sailing reminds me of, was it, the Kingdom Hearts 3 minigame with the sailing?
You mean the gummy ship? Like that's not just Kingdom Hearts.
I think it means the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay. Part. It does. I'd say that the Pirates of the Caribbean world in Kingdom Hearts 3 did it better.
Yeah, I also in that same boat. But it's kind of, I don't know, low budget.
I will say that I think that the sailing is fine. By far, my biggest problem with the game is, and to be clear, I'm like at the end of chapter 7. I'm like entering into chapter 8. I'll just say this game, it is shocking how many of the environments look like identical.
Cycle. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like I understand they're trying to go for a whole like northern like Europe aesthetic where it's like, oh, you have all these like green hills and whatnot, but it's like that's everything. And it's like you see in some key art this like volcano, but the island that has a volcano is dormant and it's just as much of a green hill as everything else. You don't see any like, and again, maybe there's some stuff in the end of the game, but even if there is, it's like for like 2/3 of the journey, like there's only 2 environments you're gonna see: caves and grassy hills.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
No,
it's almost to the point.
Not to shit on it, but it's a great game.
Yeah, and there is some like great looking environments, but it's one of those things that does stand out to you because it's like one of my main complaints with East 9 was like, oh man, so much looks the same. But once you got outside the city, like stuff did look different. Like it didn't look as like unique as East 8, but like it's one of those things where it's maybe Falcom's kind of played themselves because not only East 8, but even like the Kuro games, like Trails Through Daybreak games, they have very distinct environments throughout all of them. And so it's like it stands out that like the last 2 East games have been kind of lacking in like visual identity. Or well, maybe not visual identity, because East 10 definitely has a very striking aesthetic. It's just like the visual like variety, much like in East 9, even more so than East 9. Is kind of a problem, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah. So, there were other things about this game that they showed off. There's like, I guess Adol has like a surfboard now or something like that. He can like surf through the air.
The Grumble board.
Oh, the Grumble board. Sorry.
I will say, I really like that. I don't know how Chow feels about that, but I think that it's probably the best new addition to the game when it's used with the level design. It isn't used all the time, but when they make use of it, it feels really good, especially when you consider the fact that it's actually momentum based. Like you have to use it at the top of a hill to really get the speed going.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not like at a predetermined speed. It's actually you're taking into like account like the environment.
Yeah, and there's even some environmental puzzles to get access to some chests and some crystals and whatnot, where it's like, okay, so there's like a ramp going down, and then there's a ramp on the other end, and it's like you have to start it from the top of this ramp so you get enough speed so you'll like slingshot across, that sort of thing. And then there's a whole thing where it's like there's like areas in some levels where there's like deep water. And the only way you can like ford across it is to ride the board. So it's like, I do like the level design in this. I would say that, like, despite my issues with like the visual variety, I feel like the level design here is very good overall.
I do like the surfboard segments, but there are certain parts of the game where I like wonder, why did you even have this? Do you remember like the mana goggles, the one-eye molecule thing, and you're doing the stealth section?
The stealth section thing, that's the only time they really use it. But I feel like if you're gonna add something like that into the game, the way they did it was better than like the majority of games that do it. So, and it's mostly there to just like kind of remind you how to use that mechanic, even if you really only do that for like some platforming things and then that one thing there.
I feel like that thing wasn't really quite necessary, but I guess each to their own.
Yeah. Has there been like any like combo attacks that like really struck out to you? Like I remember in one of like the gameplay footage there's this cool combo attack that Karja did where she kind of like baseball bats Adol towards the enemies. Is there like any like other like combo attacks like that that'll go like make you go, whoa, that's kind of cool what they did there?
There's some very flashy ones. I'll definitely agree, and I do like the way that they animate them. Like pretty much all of them, they're really well animated. And I'll say that, especially ever since like Reverie, like Falcom's really upped their animation quality, especially in like key scenes and whatnot.
But like starting not really starting with East 8, but definitely more noticeable in East 8, East 9. There was definitely these it was more story heavy, interacting with NPCs, and definitely swayed more into like the Kiseki Trails territory, the way that they presented their stories. In East 10, is it like more of a return to roots to East, or more in that direction? I
feel like it's a good enough balance because there's definitely like story there, but a lot of it is like very optional stuff, and a lot of the character interaction. I don't know. I feel like, yes, there's all that like trails, like story stuff. Hey, here's your quest log. Here's the time limit for it. That sort of thing.
There's like character quest lines. I imagine like character.
Yeah. There is stuff there and all that, but it's like a modern Falcom game. It's like it's gonna be there. But I feel like that the balance is definitely struck a lot better than say like East 9. I don't know. Like, Chad, what do you feel about it?
I feel it's good because you kind of get to know everybody right from the get-go. Like, it's like something that happens in the story, and you all kind of scatter, and you gotta find them, and you gotta. It's like you kind of know enough about them that you kind of have a motive to like trying to find them at the beginning. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is the ship now like your new base camp? Kind of like how the
Okay. I like the ship a lot more than the bar they had in East 9. It's still very much, hey, here's our central hub where all the NPCs you find are, but it feels way more natural.
It feels more like a voyage like you're undertaking together because like you're more mobile now.
Yeah, it feels much better than East 9. I still think that East 8 did it maybe the best, but I'd say that East 10 is a very close second.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you actually get to like explore the ship then, since you're gathering all the...
Yes, there's like 3 layers to the ship. There's the deck. There's the main floor where you have like your like map and a couple of NPCs. Then there's the hole where you have pretty much everyone else. And obviously, like some of the NPCs will move around a bit. Sometimes they'll be on the like mast, like lookout and whatnot. It's very nice. One of the things I really like about the ship is that there's a whole side quest where it's like, hey, so this one girl really likes Picards. You're fine, and so as you're exploring the world, you'll sometimes find Picards, and you're eventually just like getting all of these different Picards for her, and you get like a total of like I don't know, like 4 or 5. It's like it's really funny because like all the different like situations where it's like, hey, this Picard's really fast, like he'll just like run like. And I posted like a video of it on my Twitter. And it's not really a spoiler. It's very funny, but it's just like he'll just like catapult off a ramp, and you'll just see him like kind of go off into the distance. You have to chase him. And then there's like a Picard that you just find on like a random like island that everyone's like, oh, he must have been like part of a ship that like started sinking. And it's like this poor guy's like scared of everything right now and stuff like that. But very cute. There's another
that have a secret boss like he's over Picard with the Picards.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say that I do generally like the side quests in this one, talking about that. I feel like that East 9 side quests were also pretty good, but East 10, I feel like it's funny. There's like a few specific side quests that really stand out without spoiling anything.
One really terrible one in my opinion.
Chow, did you do the one with the fruit?
Yeah, I did the one with the fruit. I like that one.
Yeah, it's really good. It's shocking how that one is very specifically got more budget than the rest of the side quests.
Yeah. You actually like went over there and with like that. You're talking one with the fruit with the undead, right? That was it?
Yeah.
That was a good one in my opinion. One that I think.
No more about it. No more about it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like East 10's good overall. Obviously I'm not quite finished with it yet. I'll have a full feature like basically unscored reviewed up for it like sometime next week. But yeah, I mean, I like it more than East 9. I probably don't like it quite as much as East 8, but I maintain that East 8's probably the best game that Falcom's made. So
I'm kind of in that boat too. I think East 8 is probably their best use game, and I hate the party system with a passion. But East 8 sort of made it work, and I grew to love the game. You know, But the one thing that I think we forgot to mention, did we talk about the release line? I think that's what it's called. The kind of sphere grid.
Okay. So yeah, release line is like so. What's the best way to describe it?
It's like a more refined sphere grid.
It's a sphere grid, but it's also a trails in the sky crossbell like orbment system. It's dope. So the way it works is that you got these different colored like are they called runes? I think they're called runes.
Mana
seeds, right. They're stored in the rune bangle. That's why I was confused. The mana seeds. But yeah, so you get them, and as Adel and Karja level up, they get access to these like this release line, which is basically a giant spear grid type thing going down. It branches out, and the way it works is that you have these different mana seeds that have different attributes to them, and they also are different colors. And there's these additional like bonuses you get for making lines of different types of mana seeds of different colors. And then there's different levels of mana seeds up to like level 3, I believe. So that increases the strength of the line. And then there's like the rainbow ones, which lets you connect lines of various colors throughout. I don't know how much I necessarily feel like it impacts the gameplay, but as far as like a little bit of like fluff and like kind of I do like it. I don't know how much it actually impacts the game, but I like it. I like it quite a bit.
It has enough that it makes your character a lot stronger, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because
you can
get like
just
those
like
passive if you get
those passives can be good. Especially those passives can be good.
Oh, I think it's in the line. I think you'll need it.
Yeah. Well, maybe only for Nightmare. I've been playing on. What difficulty did you play on, Chow?
Hard. I am a chicken.
I played it on hard. I
don't play on Inferno. Okay.
I'll be honest. I don't feel like any like East game has been designed around playing Nightmare on the start since like E7. So
I think the only Ys game I ever tried to beat on a Nightmare or Inferno playthrough was Ys Origin, and I couldn't even beat that. I get to like near the end. I struggle with some of the boss near the end.
I have the achievement for clearing all 3 of the routes on Nightmare.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that's really all to talk about besides the music, which...
please.
Okay. I will say this. I fully understand the people complaining about the fact that Falcom just keeps outsourcing more and more of their music. And regardless of how you feel about Mitsuo Senga, that dude is overworked. He needs to slow down, and Falcom needs to give their other composers like more of the workload. Because I think there's some really good like songs that Senga did in East 10, but he has so much of the soundtrack, and so many of them are just grating, and it's like something's got to give.
There have definitely been some East 10 tracks I've heard that I'm like, I don't know about this.
Any of the songs are done by Senga that has a lead guitar. They're god awful.
No. I will say there's a couple of them that have actual guitars that I think are fine. It's just like I think there's 2 problems with Senga. 1, he's very much overworked. 2, dude needs to get better samples because most of the time his best songs are the ones that have actual instrumentation.
It kind of reminds me of the McBurn. I never get over that McBurn song, the Deep Carnival from Cold Steel 4. It is like literal clown music. And there's a boss music that sounds kind of close to it, but it kind of suits the chaotic scenery, so I'm kind of like okay with this.
I will say overall, I still prefer this game's soundtrack to East 9.
Yeah,
that might be a bit of a hot take.
There's some okay tracks in East 9, but I could see any other game surpassing it.
Okay. Wait. There's one song in this game that makes it might be better than the other soundtracks. It's only saving grace. It's the whale music. If anyone knows which song that is.
Well, that's really good. Koguchi had a bunch of great songs in this soundtrack, which I'm glad. Like he's really coming to his own as a musician. But man, I think even more than Senga, it's just like depressing seeing the state of Sonoda, because it's like that dude is just like, man, you can tell his heart's not in it. Literally none of his...
Who composed the title theme? Because people say that was outsourced too.
I don't know. The title theme's good. Again, I maintain that like Senga isn't inherently bad. It's just that dude is like way overworked, and he needs to improve his instrumentation. That's basically it. But yeah,
he wants to get paid. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it's gonna be weird saying like obviously it's not gonna be the final East game, but it makes me wonder what the next East game is already gonna be like, because I didn't know that the whole link between Adol and another party member was like a plot device. It's like, can they actually make this battle system work again in another future title that I assume won't be like plot linked or related?
There's some foreshadowing if you beat the game, but
Oh, okay.
I won't spoil that part. So
Okay.
you'll just have
Yeah,
to find out when you beat it.
I will say that even though this game is like right after East 2 and like right before East Memories of Celceta in the timeline, it very much like there's a lot of interesting like plot developments for Adol as a character and like kind of like foreshadowing what his ultimate role in the game's like the series' world is. So very interesting stuff. And I think that's about all I'm gonna say, but like Chow knows what I mean when I say that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So very, very much looking forward to East 11. There's like 3 different ways it can go because they've like, unlike previous games where it felt like they were only kind of laying the groundwork for like, oh, like after East 9, everyone was like, we're finally going to go to ROM. And it's like, no, we're going backwards in the timeline. But it's like now there's like so many different ways it could go. Is he going to go to Britia, I think it's pronounced, like Britain, basically? Is he going to go to Rome, or is he going to go to? Is he finally going to go to North Pole? Who knows?
He's going to go to space.
I actually probably more hype for a North Pole game, but who knows when that'll be? But maybe we get a remake of 5 first. Who knows?
I'm very curious because if this game's like framework was designed around the Switch, I don't know if they're gonna make an East 5 remake until like. I don't know. Because it felt like after East 9, they were like laying the groundwork for an East 5 remake because like the whole like city thing, like that kind of felt like, okay, the prototype, but who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how things evolve over the next couple of years. Like another thing to consider is like, yeah, like Nisa's doing the port for Trails for Daybreak, but it's like, what is Falcom going to do for like Trails for Daybreak 3? It's probably going to come out next year. Is it going to be on the Switch, or heaven forbid, is it going to be on the next generation Nintendo platform if they can't get it working on the Switch? I don't know. Very interesting. We're heading into a very like, I'm not sure if I'd say a rocky period for Falcom, but it's like, especially with the fact that like East 10 did really well on Switch. It like, at least compared to the PS5 version, like the Switch version sales are off to a really strong start. It's going to be curious to see whether or not that means that Falcom's going to double down on focusing on like Nintendo like systems first, especially with the state of like PlayStation consoles in Japan. Who knows? But
if anyone's still wary, it's like this Switch
this
port
is good.
runs good as a PS4 version, I would say. I think that's how people were comparing it.
I guess we should say, what platform did you play it on? Because I've been mostly playing on PS5.
The Switch. You
played it on Switch? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's competent. Like,
yeah, it's competent. I didn't want to say like definitively that the Switch version is like really, really good because I only played about like a couple of hours on my Switch copy, skipping cutscenes to just get an idea of it. But it's like what I played. It's like, yeah, no, this is really good. It runs better than
some compromises.
It runs better than East 8 did on Vita, which is all you can really ask for. So
yeah, but like if I get a chance to play this game again, it's like I'll play on the PS5. I want to see.
No. Wait for the PC port. You've already played it, Chow.
Oh man.
He's making that decision for you. He's like, no, Chow. I will make that decision for you.
Well, if they ever get a PC port, I was going to buy on PC, but
I'm sure it will down the line.
I'm sure either Nisa or Clouded Leopard or both, probably both, will port it to PC.
I mean, Cloud Leopard Entertainment did the port for the Switch. I mean, weren't they?
No. That was Falcom in-house. Like, yeah.
Oh, then why are they in the credits? I see them all the time in certain videos. Like,
I don't know, Chow. We should ask Falcom that. I mean,
okay.
It's like,
well, does the Japanese version have like the Korean translation or whatnot?
From what I understand, the way that so this release day and date with a Chinese and Korean translation, but the way it worked is there was a patch to the Japanese version.
Oh,
for those regions, which is really, really weird. That's what I've been hearing.
That's wild.
yeah. And to be clear, like, and this is something that I kind of like talked about on Twitter earlier, where it's like, yeah, Falcom, especially recently, it's been very evident that it's like maybe they shouldn't be like relying on having their games come out so like close to the wire, because like Trails for Daybreak's Japanese release, almost infamously, at least among those of us that played it at the Japanese release, was basically unfinished.
Yeah,
Like there was a patch like 30 days later where it was like, hey, it's 60 FPS now. Here's some missing story scenes. And by the way, some scenes in the game have much better animations. Also, Van's S-Craft animation is completely different.
I mean, they did that in the... Was it?
And then, like, for East 10, the Switch version is good at launch, but you need that day one patch because it's abysmal without it.
Yeah, I mean, even Cold Steel suffered for this problem. I mean, nobody played it on the Vita when it first came out today. Like, not like the American release.
No, even the American release in specific scenes, like any festival, especially for all the alpha effects of like the confetti and whatnot, this is maybe running at 15 FPS. This is bad.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
I was talking about like the screen transition loadings.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's first impressions.
I have one question.
Okay.
Is Karja cool?
Karja's cool. I like her.
Reminds me of, was it the Miorine from Gundam?
I wouldn't even say that's like a perfect example. I do.
I think it's a VA.
I sort of think I'm wondering if it kind of feels like some of the earlier East games where you had like Elena in not Arkham Noctism, Oath Pelgana, or Olha in Arkham Noctism, where they're like the heroine, but they're not playable. But Karja's playable, so I assume she's a lot more present.
Yeah, Karja is one of the main protagonists. Like, literally...
Does Adol really talk? I know he's got, like, some voiced lines now, but...
He's got some voiced lines, and you do have, like... well, let me put it this way. One of the core aspects of the game's plot is the relationship between Adol and Karja, and because of that, even if he's not directly speaking, he's a lot more expressive, especially in regards to, like, dealing with her. So... Like, and it fits because, like, obviously he is still very young in this game. He is, like, fresh off of, like, East 2, and there's a lot of, like, playfulness to Adol's character in this game, which I do appreciate quite a bit. They do kind of straddle that line. I feel like they come out of it, like, doing about as well as I could have hoped. And maybe even that's a bit, like, a bit negative, but I do like the way that Adol is kind of showcased in this game.
Yeah, I kind of figure sort of how like Donna was pretty much the de facto character of Issei, like Karja is pretty much the de facto character of this game, I would imagine. I know Adol's the main character, but it's usually more about the other one. That's
to explain, to explain just how much of a focus Karja is in East 10, because this is not really a spoiler because it's like very, very early on, is that like one of the things is that there's like a whole trial where Adol and Karja go through the rites of basically becoming like blood brothers. So
yeah.
Okay. That is East 10 Nordics, out now in Japan for PlayStation platforms and Switch. You'll see it in the West whenever it does, and yeah. Moving on, we have Silent Hope. I've been playing Silent Hope. I've actually beat it not too long ago. The main story, there is post game stuff.
How long is it?
So my time is skewed. So the demo I played for way too long. Like the demo probably has about like 1.5 hours of content. Let me go pull up my Steam thing. And
I didn't realize the demo was available on Steam.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it a Steam Next Fest thing or?
No. It came out with Star Ocean and Dragon Quest Monsters and that. So, this is about a little over 9 hours in the full release. So give or take, you're looking like about a 10 to 11 hour game, maybe 12.
Okay. I will play this after I finish East 10.
Yeah, so it's not bad. But yeah, it's an okay game. This is the game from that was released by Exceed and Marvelous. This is the kind of the roguelite element, but has a clear action RPG. It's about these 7 heroes lost their voice, and the rest of the world lost their voice. But you control one of these 7 heroes. You go down this abyss through dungeon floors until you beat up the big bad boss at the end of that abyss. And each of the floors that you go through is somewhat procedurally generated. Though there are some like floors that are like narratively, pre-designed here. And then all of the 7 characters that play differently. You have your standard like sword and shield class. You have the big Buster Sword class. You have a farmer. You have a caster. You have the rogue bandit type of class, and so forth. And they'll have their own different skills, different weapons they use. And the flow of the game is as you progress through dungeon floors, you can warp back up to the surface to bring back things that you find throughout your runs. If you die in the dungeon, you'll lose a certain portion of them when you come back up. And then like the space camp is basically where you kind of forge new materials to forge new weapons, gather new or have the other people back at base camp gather like crops to make dishes that are like temporary buffs for you that you can consume when you take off in your next run in the dungeon. And and then there are certain like campfire checkpoints in the dungeon too, so you can like just immediately warp to them when so you don't have to like start over from the beginning. And then like usually the each biome of the dungeon gets longer and longer till the boss. So like the first one you have to go through 10 floors, the next one you have to go through 12 floors, then the next one it takes like 16 floors, and then like the very final one in the story like takes a while. That it has you go almost go through like 30 floors before you get to like the boss there. And it's a very simplistic but taxing um action RPG. It's like there's not a lot of like things going on in combat. It's an isometric view. You have your basic attack, and then you can have up to 3 skills on your character, and then as you level up, you gain more skill points. Once you reach level 15 with a person to unlock their second job, well, like they'll unlock their first job. So, like for example, if you're archer, once you reach level 15, you'll get the bombardier class, and then the second job that they can unlock is like not like it's very far in. Like I haven't even unlocked the second job class, even though I beat in the main game. It's like I think it's like a post game unlock. You have to go through like I don't know why it takes so long to unlock the second job class, to be honest. But as you unlock the your other job, you can mix and match abilities from each class. So like for my archer or bombardier, I can have skills from the archer class and the bombardier class on my hotbar for skills. And as you're going through the dungeon, you'll gain loot not only for your class but for the other um, characters as well. So if you want to swap to them, they might already have like upgraded gear to make progression easier for them because maybe you just want to level them up to unlock their class and then mess with them. So chances are you probably have already like upgraded loot for them to use to progress easier and do more damage to enemies, all that sort of stuff. You throughout your dungeon runs, you can swap to a different character through like these like crystal nodes that like you can either use them to return to base camp or switch to another character. And if you switch to another character, they'll get like a damage bonus, like a multiplier, to incentivize you to switch characters. But each character has to be leveled up individually. So it's leveled up with one character, it's applied to everyone. It's like no, everyone starts at level 1, and then you have to individually level them up, and so forth. So if you want to, you can go my route, which is I just stuck with one character throughout my playthrough, or you could probably be maybe a sane person and be like, maybe I want to try like 2 or 3 different characters and like main them, and then try to switch between them, consistently.
I guess it sort of depends on how, because I would probably do what you did and I'll just stick to my favorite and get used to them and play with them. And since they level up individually, it's like, well, I'm just being efficient. I'm dumping all my EXP into one character. But like, I guess if that buff that you get for changing characters is really worth it, maybe it's useful to have like 2.
Yeah,
or
maybe.
switch between these 2 characters and get that small buff when I switch from one to the other, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like I main the archer to bombardier because like I have 2 classes from the 2 skills from the bombardier class and one from the archer that like really synergize well with each other because one of the bombardier skills is, hey, I'm gonna fire off a bomb that does that fires off an AoE stun at my target, And then its other second skill I have is called Bomb Rain, which they fire a cluster of bombs into the sky, and it'll fire like some far away enemy to do more AOE stuns. And then the spread shot from the archer class fires off like 5 arrows at once in front of you, so you can kind of use it like as a shotgun to do a lot of damage. So you can effectively kind of almost chain stun enemies while doing a lot of like damage to up close enemies. And I'm like, yeah, this feels good. So, but I mean, there's no right answer. Obviously, people can find whatever playstyle and class suits them, and they'll find. There's no right answer on like what class you should play. It's whatever you have fun with. And as you're progressing through the dungeon, since the story is it the whole story, like I said, revolves around the people that are left in the world have lost their ability to speak. The only speech you can hear in the game is through this princess that's like imprisoned, not imprisoned, but like she's like stuck in this like crystal teardrop, um, like manifestation that she imprisoned herself in because of her. She cried so much at like what happened to the world that like she made like a prison out of her tears, pretty much, and she can communicate telepathically to like the 7 heroes that you play as. And so most of the time, well, all the time as you're going through the main story, the only words you hear are from the princess. Everything else is like kind of like your standard battle grunts from your characters. And then the story is told of like what happened here is told on these like stone tablets that you walk up to after like every boss, and it'll give you like not a summary, but like it'll give you a description of like what happened to this kingdom and like why did it meet its downfall, and it kind of tells you like a text story of like events that happened that eventually led it to like why things became the way that they are. And it's a pretty standard story. It's not there's not really big surprises. It's kind of your standard, you know, you've seen the story before. Absolutely.
My guess
So
is that someone in the kingdom was messing with like some sort of divine power that they shouldn't have, and it backfired. That's my guess.
I will not confirm or deny whether you're right or wrong for people who really want to soak in the story. And it's like it's by design. It's like inherently very repetitive, and that's like the biggest downside of the game. It's because of these roguelike elements of like doing runs. Like a lot of the time, you're kind of going through these only dungeon layouts, but they have different environments as you're going through them. So one will be like a volcano area until you beat the boss, and after you beat the boss, you go into the snow biome. So it'll have like a different environment. There'll be like some gimmicks to the environment. Like for one of them, there might be like places like spots on the floor that are like will spew like hot lava, you know, every few seconds, and then another one might have like the snow biome has like these snowballs that like will roll towards you once they see you. They're like sentient snowballs that will start rolling towards you when they see you. Or like another one might have like these cannons that fire at you if you press a button on the floor. And like I guess the one neat thing is like the environment can be used against your enemy too. So like those cannons, for example, you can actually like kite enemies towards the cannons, then press the cannons button, fire the cannons, and then like any like those cannonball projectiles will also hurt enemies, not just you. So you can kind of manipulate the environment to help you out in it. But other than that, it's very much standard. Hey, progress through a floor, pick up what you see, treasure chests, crops. There'll be sometimes like these like mirror gates that like you can go through them. They're like harder. There's like tougher enemies in there that have like more HP, do more damage. But once you go through them, you'll be rewarded with some treasure chests with some good loot. And then the nice thing about this, after you warp out of those mirror gates, they'll automatically take you to the end of the floor, so you don't have to go back and explore the floor again. If you just want to get to the next floor ASAP, like going through like just traversing through those mirror gates will send you automatically to the exit of that floor to proceed on. And that's like pretty much the game in a nutshell. There's not a lot to like say about it. It's a pretty simplistic premise. Everything's laid out pretty intuitively. You can as you're progressing through the dungeon, all the tasks that you gave to your people at back at your base camp, whether it's like making new materials to make new weapons or farming, all of those are done like on a timer based on like how much you progress the dungeon. You can consume materials to like instantly make them or gather them if you need them right away. But most of the time they'll passively get done as you're progressing through your dungeon run. Yeah, that's pretty much the game in a nutshell.
How
Like the
long did you
boss
say
is
this game was?
it's about 10 to 12 hours.
Okay, so that's actually quite short.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
It
To
seems
be
like I
fair
might as
though,
well
to
check
be
it
fair
out.
though, it's not a full price game.
Yeah, it's like $35, I think.
Okay.
I believe.
It's $40. It was like a 10% discount at
right.
launch, I believe.
Okay.
So it's like it's
Yeah.
not a full price game. I think it sounds like for the
It's fine.
price, it's yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's like kind of like if you're looking for like something like more a smaller scale, more cozy, more comfy. It gives you that. I don't dislike the game. I think it's just a very okay game. It's nothing like amazing. It's nothing awful or bad. I just think it's it's okay. It's all right, and I'm okay with like playing more of these smaller scope like games that like are just like fun to play in like short bursts. I don't play this for hours and hours on end. I like maybe play for like 2.5 hours every time, and then and then come back like the next day and play through it. So that's but there's enough of like you definitely feel more powerful as you get better loot. Like loot will have rarities and ranks, and like you get better loot as the further on you're in, and then some of them will have like gem slots that you can slot in gems to like further boost their strength or like have faster cooldowns for your skill or dodge, get more HP, increase the attack of or the strength of your skills. Like there's like different your typical action RPG element modifiers on loot is there too. So you can definitely there's a level of customization that's like it's not like super in depth, but it's enough to get you by and make you feel like that you're like sort of working towards like a build that you want to um, strategize around. Like for example, like in my stun build, like I obviously I want like I want to reduce these skill cooldowns, so like I have the time in between my stuns is shorter and shorter, and so forth. But you can definitely go for like, hey, if you want like a thorns build, like there's definitely some equipment that have like high damage reflect modifiers, like plus 350%. So if you want like if any enemies like damage you, they'll get a whole bunch of damage back, and you can like up your defense as well through some of these modifiers. So you can definitely could work towards like a tanky thorns build if you wanted to, and so forth. And yeah, I mean, so there's like small stuff like that. But other than that, it's a very simplistic game. There's not like a ton to really like talk about with it, and that's kind of the game in a nutshell. I don't know. If they have any questions, feel free to ask. But that's kind of the game. All right, great. No
Yeah, I don't
questions.
have any questions.
Yeah,
I might
there
check
you
it out
go.
just because it is, like 10 hours, 15 hours. That's
Yeah.
doable.
Just
Yep.
checking
And I
it out
am
for the Rune
moderately
Factory
interested
connection.
in just sort of a character building kind of game in terms of classes and skills and modifiers and
Yeah,
equipment. So why not?
yeah. So it's all right. So yeah, that's
Now, do
Silent
I have to
Hope.
play this to understand Rune Factory 5 or
Yes,
6? Rune
absolutely.
Factory
You
6
will
and Rune
not.
Factory. What was the other one?
That's
Project Dragon. There's that spin-off they
yes.
announced. I forget what it's called.
I will just say yes.
Okay.
So I am well prepared for all future Root Factory projects now. It does. I will say that I would say how they did it, but the way that they did end credits in this game is kind of neat. I appreciate like small touches like that, but I'll leave that to for people to find out on how they did it. But it's kind of a neat touch. But yeah, and there's post game stuff and kind of maybe I'll dive into post game, maybe not. We'll see. But I do want to unlock the other class, so I probably will do it because I want to see the rest of my options there. So I guess there's some replay value. If you want to definitely see everything that the game has to offer, you know, you definitely have to play with all the characters, level them up, and get access to their other classes and see what you can do with them. So there's definitely if you get into it, there's definitely some stuff to chew on in terms of like character building, all of them. Yeah, this was between like this and Disgaea 7 because Disgaea 7 came out earlier this week, and I was like, should I get Disgaea 7? Should I get this game? I decided to go with this game first, but I'll circle back around to Disgaea 7 when I get the time. But I hear good things about Disgaea 7 too through word of mouth from friends and reviews that I've gone out.
Yeah, everything I've heard about Disgaea 7 is that they've succeeded in oh god, we're sorry for Disgaea 6. Here's one that everyone likes.
So good to see. I definitely want to play it. Moving on then, Adam, here's your chance. Let's hear about 3.
Say that again?
Let's hear about Crystar in the year 2023.
Okay, yeah, you cut out for a bit. Anyways,
Okay.
yeah, so coming up at the end of this month is Cry Machina from NIS America, and I believe it's being developed by Acquia, who they're more known for like I think they made the first Caligula effect, and they've done a bunch of the Sword Art Online games. I believe even the newest Sword Art Online game. I'm not wrong. I'm not confident on that though. But anyways, so with Cry Machina coming out this month, I was just thinking, you know what? I never played Crystar. Now, Crystar came out, like you said, I think in 2019, a couple years ago. That was developed by Gem Drops, and as far as we know, when Cry Machina was first announced, we were like, oh, it's a sequel or it's a spin-off or a follow-up of some sort, because it has like a similar art style and a similar name, and they're both kind of produced by Furyu, which if you're not familiar, they kind of do a lot of these sort of small budget Japanese RPG games, and they reach out to a bunch of different small developers to create them. So at first we thought, oh, there's going to be some connection between these games. And then when Cry Machina released, it came out in Japan, and it seems like there's no real connection as far as I'm aware, other than maybe like a similar aesthetic. I still was just like, you know what? I've played most Furyu games. I think I still have to find one that I really actually like. So maybe Crystar is that one. Spoiler alert, it's not. And Crystar is not too long. I heard it's like 20-25 hours, and like, okay, I can play this. Why not? Check it out. Lucas reviewed this for us back when it released, and he was not a big fan really at all. I think he gave it a 5 out of 10, and I agree. I honestly find this game is kind of dreadful. And so what Cry Machina is, it's an action RPG, kind of like a mini dungeon crawler, where I'll get to the premise later, but you basically can control one of 4 characters through these sorts of very sterile type dungeons. It literally just kind of like walkway paths with kind of mini rooms along the path where you fight the same enemies over and over and over again. The enemy variety is really lacking. And what it actually sort of reminds me of, I don't know if this makes sense, but it kind of reminds me of a game like Tokyo Xanadu, only much lower budget. And not that Tokyo Xanadu had a huge budget to begin with. Where it's kind of like a simple action RPG, kind of repetitive. You get a light attack and a heavy attack and like 4 different skills you can use. So, it's not broken, but it's really nothing barely above competent. It's just like, okay, there's like this really simple action RPG system here, and you basically you collect items from the dungeons and from enemy drops, and you basically just kind of fuse them up to make more powerful weapons and more powerful armor to raise your attack and defense. But there's really not a whole lot of thought put into it. There's very little in terms of like, oh, I want to build a character a certain way. It sounds like even less so than Silent Hope. It's just like, oh, fuse these pieces together to make my attack stronger or my defense higher. And there's really just not a lot to it. So in terms of gameplay components, it's very basic. It's not broken, but it's just there's nothing to latch onto. The premise of the game is the place where you may have some affinity towards it if it's your sort of thing. So again, this is an older game. By older, I mean like 4 years old. So you maybe have heard this before. But you play the main character's name is Ray, and your sister has passed away, Mirai, and you go to a sort of an afterlife sort of place called Purgatory in order to basically revive Mirai. And you do that by collecting the souls of revenants and other specters in this place. And then there's a story that kind of follows from there in terms of what actually happened to Mirai, what happened to the other characters you meet, and why they're in purgatory, and who's kind of like the who's basically behind these deaths and things like that. And I'd be lying to say if there wasn't a modicum of some interesting things that happen, but it's just not enough. And this game, once you clear it, once you hit the credits of it for the first time, it barely feels like an ending because it's not. It pulls a Bravely Default, which you may have heard of, where
I love that just like that's a term now.
Yeah,
It pulls a
it's one
Bravely
of those things
Default.
like if you know, you know. It pulls a Bravely Default where you pretty much have to replay the back half of the game 4 times to get the actual ending, and that's actually where I'm at right now. I have gotten to the credits twice. I'm on my.
Or is that a Yoko Taro thing?
Well, it's not even like the Nier games. Like the credits are almost just like mid-game almost. I guess you sort of have to replay like 2B's route or whatnot, or not 2B.
9S,
9S.
or E2.
And but it just in this case, it's really just kind of like you get to the credits and then it kind of just shunts you back to the beginning of the game, and then it kind of shunts you back to the middle of the game, and then you just replay the back half of the game, I guess 4 times. And like with Bravely Default, there is a purpose to it. Obviously, it's not like they just do it for no reason. And there are new scenes, and you get more context of what happens and whatnot. But I guess the ultimate question is this worth it to have to kind of just like replay these sections? Because the actual gameplay itself doesn't change. You literally just play through the same part of the game 4 times over, and I'm on my 3rd playthrough. Like, I got one more to go after this one.
Is there any like difference? Like,
No, I mean,
there
there's
are like
new
different boss
scenes and
varieties?
stuff. At the end of the game, there might be a different boss. There was last time, but the actual like levels that you go through and whatnot, and obviously the combat system is the same as it always is. There's no difference. So it's like you basically would play through this section of the game to see the new scenes and like the different takes on scenes and things like that. And like I said, it's not like it's totally garbage in terms of like, okay, I do see what they're doing here. I see what they're going for. It's just I don't know if this is worth it, especially when the gameplay is as basic as it is. So it's a really hard recommendation. Other than the fact that even with this rerunning the game, I think I'm like 18 hours into the game or something like that. And the game itself, I heard, not including post-game and whatnot, is like 20, 25. Like, okay, it's not that long a game RPG-wise, even with these reruns, but it is just it is tedious. I'm literally watching like YouTube videos or listening to other podcasts as I'm playing through the game because I need something to actually like entertain me while I play my entertainment. So yeah, that's kind of my takeaway. I don't really know how it concludes yet, but I don't think it'll be so a surprise if I come away from this saying like, oh yeah, that was totally the right decision. That was completely worth it. I doubt it.
I'm still in the boat that the Bravely Default ruined Bravely Default.
The one thing about Bravely Default's reruns that I kind of like, they're optional. You don't even need to do them. Is that
it's the boss rush?
Exactly. He basically combines the different asterisk holders to like different combinations.
But hold on, Adam. If you played the imported Japanese version before it released in America, they didn't have those different boss variations. I played that version, and that version also didn't have fast forward, so you can't just skip through the shit that you hated.
And didn't that version not even have the encounter removal? Because that was added later too.
That was added later too.
Yeah, so
because later on they did a survey. They asked, "How come only like 5% of our players actually finished this game?" And they all seem to stuck on Chapter 7.
Moral of the story is that when you see how long it takes for some games to be localized, consider that maybe the wait might be worth it.
So yeah. I don't think I was able to finish Bravely Default without those quality of life improvements made for the Western release. So.
I don't remember in Japan, sort of funny, they called that Bravely Default re-release for the sequel.
Yeah, Claudi's
That's
is
weird.
like made for the sequel. Get it?
And then I guess the sequel is Bravely Second, which I think was okay. It had some good, some bad, but I don't think it really worked out. But it feels like a lot of people were more fond of the original, anyways. But yeah, Crystar, I'm still looking for that first Furyu game I can say, yes, I really like this one. Crystar's not it. Maybe Cry Machina will be it. I'm trying to think.
Legend of Legacy HD Remixed.
I played the original version of that, and I think it's fine.
I think I'd rather take that than repeating the same crap over for I don't know, like for 15 hours.
Okay, the last thing I'll say about Crystar is basically what the story, like the thing that really has any, I don't think the gameplay is it. The thing that has any chance to possibly hook you is like you learn about all 4 characters have sort of like a death related to their character, and you kind of learn there's like a mystery involved that like, okay, these are not just 4 separate events, there's some connective tissue there, and you sort of slowly learn that over time. So there's that sort of like mystery reveal kind of element to it, but that's about it. So yeah, that's the game. Now, based on what I've seen with Cry Machina, again, maybe not even related, just similar art style, similar name, it seems to have a little bit more involved combat. So
I will say, I did
you
play
played it,
some
right?
of Cry. Yeah, I played a bit of Cry Machina at Ask America's HQ in June. Yeah, June. And at least the bit I played, it's like, oh, this feels really good, like surprisingly good. Like I want to play it, if nothing else, than to see if the combat holds up throughout the whole thing. Because like first impression was like, man, this is probably one of the best like action combat systems I played in a game that's not like Platinum Games. So
Get excited, Adam.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. So this game was developed by Gem Drops. Didn't they come out with something more recently? Oh, they're doing the Star Ocean remaster.
Oh, okay.
So
there you go.
Crystar, developed by Gem Drops, is also making the Star Ocean second story R. I forgot about that. Obviously, with a totally different production side of things, with Square Enix instead of Furyu. But I remember Gem Drops sounding familiar. Like, where did I hear that recently? Oh yeah, Star Ocean. Okay.
You're gonna be able to summon Cry Machina characters in Star Ocean.
They also did I'm looking at Gem Drops. They also did Kizuna AI Touch the Beat. I don't even know what that is. I assume that's some rhythm game with the Compile Heart VTuber.
Yeah, some yeah.
Okay,
sure. All right.
So now,
She's
so yeah,
still
but
even-
Cry Machina is being made by Acquia, who made they looks like they did make the new Sword Art Online game that actually just came out last week. Did anyone play that?
My friend is playing it. I think it recently came out this week, but the demo came out like last week or something. Okay. I watched them stream a little bit of it. I'm like, yep, that's SAO, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know much.
I know some people like those games, like legitimately more so than
Yeah.
just the Sword Art Online, license. But
Yeah, I don't know enough to comment what I saw.
Okay.
I was just like, yes, that is definitely
That is the
SAO
game.
characters, and that is definitely a game. I
okay,
can confirm.
full disclosure, guys. We at RPG Site, we try to be pretty comprehensive in our reviews in terms of like RPGs, JRPGs, Western RPGs, indie stuff. But like, just no one on our team wanted to review Sword Art. So
I mean, that's not consistent, right? Like, no.
Guys, you need to understand. This year's been not a hellscape, because that would imply, well, there's been so many RPGs this year. So many RPGs. There's been stuff that we've like absolutely missed, and it looks like it's not going to slow down, because next year is looking like it's going to be possibly even worse.
Yeah.
So you're saying if they release a new SAO game next year, no shotting. So
Look,
I mean,
someday we'll get it.
I can't speak for everyone here, but I wouldn't review it.
we're never gonna get the SAO fans on our side, no matter how much we put to
Don't
them.
worry, we can always recruit a SAO expert.
Oh, yeah?
We'll get one day.
Oh, are you doing like an open recruitment on our podcast episode, Charles? Like, if you're into SAO, definitely.
Actually, on that
Message us.
note, Alex, our boss and founder of the site, actually did put out another recruitment.
There you go.
Yeah, and I do know that some people have actually asked me to like give them a good word for to Alex. So it's like it happens. So
that's how James got like to be honest,
Well,
like
James was
yeah.
like, we need a
Well,
Monster Hunter expert.
Like,
what literally happened was that so I Josh, Chow, and I all were in the same server, and it was like I was talking about how I did coverage for games on a different site, and Josh noticed that I had at the time a Yonkut like icon for like my Discord profile, and then we met each other at Anime Expo, and then that was that.
And basically, it's like, hey, yeah, like I can definitely put in a good word for you, like, and then talk to Alex about it. Like, it's literally because because we met at a Discord server, and I got to speak with James at Anime Expo about like, here's like, I basically just
Thank God he's not a weirdo.
Yeah. I basically gave the lowdown of like, okay, this is kind of like where we want to go, like with the site and with Monster Hunter World and stuff. So it's literally just like, like honestly, stars aligning, a bit of luck, but also like show like an earnest, like passion about what you're into, which is sometimes that's kind of what you need as well. Just like to don't be, I don't know, be real about what you like, and you will get noticed. And that's also with Chow too. Like same thing, because I knew Chow from like, hey, I used to read his guides over at GameFAQs. He makes really good guides. So that's how he got Chow into here. I like how they're just basically doing like a behind the scenes, like this is how we got the people on this podcast into the site. But and it's also how I got kind of roped in as well into the site. It's like this guy's really good at Japanese translations.
Maybe it's time for you to recruit your friend who's a SAO expert.
Oh, I'm thinking about it. I'm dying laughing. He's fine. He's doing well. Yeah. So that is, I don't know. That kind of weird, went on a weird tangent, but I hope people liked it, and definitely, hey, honestly, it like just reach out, I guess, to us. Like if you're interested in writing for the site, obviously submit an application, email and stuff like that. But also, it's nice to like have like a body of your work somewhere, like have a like portfolio or like a sample, like, right? Because like
Also-
I like that's what really helps. Like I knew Chow because of his portfolio. I knew Kite because of what he does at other stuff. I knew James because like I've seen his other stuff. Like some samples are a body of work, and like and you're being genuine and real about what you like.
Also, very important, maybe the most important thing, if you're gonna be reaching out about like trying to like write for us, do not send us a DM to the site's Twitter account. That does not work.
Don't do that. Yeah, email,
or reach out to Alex through either his email or through his Discord. One or the other. Just don't. The site's
honestly,
the site's Twitter has too much, and we don't know how much longer Twitter is going to be around anyway.
With
like,
TweetDeck now being gimped and dead, and the gimped version being behind a paywall, like it's much harder actually for me to even see what people like mention us or message us on Twitter. So it might never be seen.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the real inside baseball story. So other than that, so those the games we've been playing, and they do have a few features up on the site that came out this week. One was recently put out by Paul. Oh God, how do you pronounce his last name? Shkreli. Yes, thank you, Paul Shkreli. Talking about how Sailor Moon introduced him to fan translations, and that this is like a good like feature talking about the SNES Sailor Moon turn-based RPG. There's like Sailor Moon Another Story. And that game released in 1995 on my birthday, September 22nd, in Japan. And then through fan translations, that became widely more popular, like overseas. So he gets to talk about his time with the Sailor Moon.
My favorite line of his in his article. So I gather that this has had a fan translation for a long time. It's got a more recent one that might be more accurate or whatever, but it had a fan translation back, maybe even in the late 90s, early 2000s, like a long time ago. And my favorite line of his in the and he says, he was younger at the time when he did this. My teenage foray into emulation at this point was for games I already owned and played in English. The concept of playing a game that was in English, despite never coming out in America, made me feel like I was in on a little secret. You never heard of this game? That's right. It's actually never been released in this whole country, I imagine telling my friends who never asked. So,
Yeah,
That's a great sentence.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that's fucking relatable.
So this was, and he even makes this article sort of like, I have no idea who manages this license, which I guess it would be Toei, and who would even be in charge of this. But it would be nice if this game got a re-release. That's what he's advocating for a re-release.
That's kind of like that line of thinking is kind of the pathway of how the System Shock remake got made. To be honest, because there's one very passionate fan about System Shock that really went into it and got that remake kind of kickstarted. So it's a really fascinating story. People search it up on how that came to be. That whole project came to be. Even tracking down who owns the System Shock IP these days and so forth. So yeah, and I do agree that I kind of hope that more of these kind of really cool 90s JRPGs kind of get a revival like Live Alive did as well. That'd be great, right? But it'd be also really tough because the whole licensing behind it as well, unfortunately.
No,
but
I'm not
there was
a big
a time.
Sailor Moon fan. I'm not a big Sailor Moon fan, but I just kind of like the style of this game, those Super Nintendo pixel art graphics. I'll always have a soft spot
probably
for that.
played everything that was possible during those days because I would emulate everything, and if there's a fan patch, I had to play it. I actually beat a lot of video games doing that. A lot of games that was unreleased. I think that was my first experience was Final Fantasy V. I think that's one of the earliest English fan patch.
Actually, he mentioned Final Fantasy V also. Paul did in an article.
Well,
so yeah,
I guess that aligns.
I just like seeing cool anime licensed turn-based RPGs. So cool as in not fairy tale, but cool as in Sailor Moon.
That would be.
I don't know. I don't know anything about Odyssey, to be honest. After it came out, all I know is they were lying when they said you didn't have to know anything about One Piece to get into this. That's all I remember. Other than that, we also have impressions of the digital console versions of Gloomhaven by Scott White, saying that they if you find the actual Gloomhaven board game intimidating, the digital versions are definitely more consumable, a more consumable format for Gloomhaven. So this is this basically identical content to the PC version. You get the main campaign and the brand new 100 quest guild master mode, which is interestingly enough is exclusive to the Gloomhaven digital version. So interesting enough. We also have a feature by James about FF14 got a new patch, I believe.
I'm still going to be putting out a proper impressions of the patch, but I felt compelled to do something a little bit different. Got the approval from Alex.
They made Bahamut a mount?
Yes. So basically, bit of context. One of the things that 14's done basically ever since Realm Reborn is that every expansion has a set of mounts that you get for clearing you can get from clearing the extreme trials. They're a random drop, so you might want to grind them out. It's another reason to do them. For Realm Reborn, you got horses. For Heaven's Word, you got birds. Stormblood, you got wolves. And Shadowbringers, you got these dragon things. It's also been consistent where if you got all of the trial mounts, you would get a special quest to get an ultimate mount for that expansion, which was up until now corresponding to the types of mounts that you were getting in the trials. You got Golden Kirin in Realm Reborn, you got a Phoenix in Heaven's Word. So horse, you get a Kirin. Birds, you get a Phoenix. You got a Nine-Tailed Fox in Stormblood, which not 1-to-1, but wolves to a Nine-Tailed Fox. And Shadowbringers, you got this mecha dragon. So regular dragons to mecha dragon. very obvious through line. Endwalker's trial mounts up until now have been these sort of winged like cats, these lynxes. And you would think, and most players were assuming, that the final mount that you would get for getting all of the lynxes would be some sort of giant cat, some like king of the cats, something interesting. Maybe it would be like a mount version of this like one fate boss from Heaven's Ward that people really liked. This was announced a few months ago that no, that's not the case. Instead, the mount that you get for getting all the lynxes is a completely unrelated Final Fantasy IV Bahamut.
I feel the problem right now is all the new content is kind of like a circle jerk to Final Fantasy IV a little bit too much.
Well, yeah, it's like one of those things, and I even say in the article, like, I don't know if it's like actually been something like intentional, like in previous expansions. It's like, oh no, the final mount you get has to be like kind of like related to the mounts you get in the trials or not. And I don't know, maybe they just thought like immediately, oh, we're going to make the ultimate mount for Endwalker's trials be Bahamut. And then like working backwards, it's like, we don't know what to do to kind of like get this across. Fuck it, we'll do lynxes. I don't know what it was, but personally, and I've definitely seen the sentiment from other people, I wanted a big cat, man. I wanted a big cat mount.
I'm sure anybody wants a big cat.
We all feel that now that you've put it like that.
Yeah,
but instead you get the creature that destroyed 1.0 as your mount now.
Yeah, it's just one of those silly little features, not anything serious. Just figured it was just a takeaway I had from the patch, and I've definitely seen some people again kind of relate. Overall, again, I'll probably put up my impressions of the patch. Maybe tomorrow. But overall, I mean, 6.5 has been a good patch. I know some people still don't like the support that Endwalker's gotten post-launch, and I get it. I think that it's a bit of a balancing act because a lot of what they've been doing has been like kind of like laying the groundwork and like quality of life features. And I don't know if people realize how much work that takes. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be interesting to write about like 6.5, especially considering it's the last major patch for Endwalker and like kind of looking at the support that Endwalker's received as a whole.
Is the next like content update for this game going to be Dawn Trail or whatever?
No, there's part 2 of 6.5, which is coming out at basically early next year, I think, or something like that. But it's not going to be like any major content. It's going to be like an hour or two of main story and a duty, and that's basically it. So
okay, well, the road to Dawn Trail goes on. We put up a really interesting feature. We had an interview with Albert Cao from Aniplex of America about the upcoming Western localization of Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon. And a lot of the interview is talking about like how to preserve the original author's Kinoko Nasu's vision, when localizing his script, for one of like the biggest, most revered visual novels of all time, really. So finally, Western release. So like this will be technically, like the first like official time Tsukihime will be in English, from an official source.
Yep.
In the West. So this actually got like a surprising amount of traction from the community and the response to it. A lot of eyes are like on this project because a lot of people hold Tsukihime near and dear to them. So, and I think a lot of people are hoping that it manages to not to avoid the pitfalls that the Witch on the Holy Night Western localization had, where the from what I heard behind the scenes, it had like kind of like a rough time behind the scenes in terms of like crunch and like in terms of like how the editing process went and a lot of like revisions, kind of last minute sort of stuff. And so like I think a lot of people are crossing their fingers like, hey, hopefully that doesn't happen with Tsukihime on here. What did you think about his responses, James?
I think it's kind of tough when you're dealing with a company that's kind of like notably as maybe not, from what I know, Aniplex in general is a bit of a tough company to like squeeze any sort of like conversation out of. So the fact we even got this in the first place is, I'd say, notable. I'd say that I would have hoped for maybe a bit more like a specific specificity with the responses, but I do think overall it was still cool to see that we got any at all.
Yeah. So it's Tsukihime's Western localization is coming out sometime next year still. No specific date on that yet. Coming to PlayStation and Switch, as far as we know for right. And we'll see what their next update's gonna be for the West. Hopefully, release date. Moving on to news. Once again, not a lot of news here, but we did get an info blast from an unlikely source here. So earlier this week, there's an announcement of the restructure to the management of Compile Heart. Starting this month on October 1st, Naoto Tominaga is now Compile Heart's president, and Hikaru Yasui, who was originally at Sting as a producer there, is now the company's director. And along with this announcement of this shakeup in management and Compile Heart, they basically announced a shit ton of games. A lot of them are RPGs.
We're getting a new Monogatari in the first time in 20 years? 25?
Yeah, it's a very long time. So yeah, we're just gonna go through it in order here. They announced a few non-RPGs here and there, but of course we were highlighting the RPGs here. So the first one that they spoke about was this brand new RPG titled Todokero Tatakae Calamity Angels. This is a delivery themed or delivery based RPG where you're basically your main character is like a courier, it looks like, from the character design, and you're going to be doing like RPG activities along the way as you make your deliveries. The character designer is Kei Nanameda, who worked on Mugen Souls and the Mary Skelter series. It's aiming for a more like comedic slapstick comedy type of feel throughout the game, so that's what they want to focus on, the art direction. And they already said, hey, it is coming out next summer in Japan for PS5, PS4, and Switch. And then it'll also be getting a PC release via Steam at a later time as well. So once again, these are all announced for Japan. There is nothing has been officially announced for Western release yet. I assume some of these will be coming to the West because usually Compile Heart games have a fairly decent track record when for coming out in the West. So we'll see that. So this kind of the game that got kind of the most like visuals, not any like new in-game shots or anything of it, but a lot of artwork for this, and it's very it has a really nice vibe to it. I'd say very energetic, very lively in the designs that they've shown off for this. So that's I want to see how this game works. It sounds fun on paper. I do kind of like what they're trying to go for here, but I want to see how they pull off the execution. The next one that they shared is Touhou Spell Carnival. This is an interesting one. This is a new tactical RPG that's being developed with Sting. And then Katsuyuki Hirano is in charge of the title's character designs. He previously worked on Gun Pixies and the recent Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters game. This is even though it's like a tactical RPG, the battles progress in real time. They're trying to like.
Oh, so it's more like an SRPG. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like they're kind of trying to combine like some of the shmup aspects, like bombs into this real-time tactical RPG. So we'll see how that works out.
It sounds like to me almost like the way that battles worked in 13 Sentinels, because
that would technically be not turn-based.
Yeah. But it's very interesting that like Compile Heart is working so much more closely with Sting, even like having like it's very interesting after how badly the most recent Fairy Fencer F bombed in Japan, which was developed by Sting. Which,
like, you want the best for Sting because Sting is such a cool company.
Yeah, which honestly really cool, and I do think it's kind of sad that the Fairy Fence Ref game bombed. I reviewed it. It's like a good tactical RPG. It's not amazing, but it's like it didn't deserve to bomb that bad. God.
Yeah. Well, at least they're still working on more stuff. So, like, it was interesting because I've heard from people who like Toad, like, oh yeah, they're really looking forward to this Touhou Spell Carnival game. So
I will say this though, all of this info about Sting working more closely with Compile Heart. Is Octopus just not returning their calls? What happened to Utwaru Mono?
That's good question. Good question. So Touhou Spell Carnival, they're aiming to release the next spring in Japan for multiple platforms, though they didn't provide any specific platforms just yet for that. One of the biggest surprises out of this, but there's only there's a very niche like understanding. Like I had to do like some research on this too. They're making a new Mado Monogatari game, and this to put this into context, this is like the first proper follow-up since the original release of Mado Monogatari 1-2-3. This is all one game that originally launched in June 1990 for the MSX2.
They have separate remakes for different systems. Like you
Yeah.
can get like a remake for PC Engine of one of the earlier games.
And so two things about this that are interesting. One, what you just said, it's like the first release in over 30 years. Two, most people probably know Mado Monogatari characters, even if they don't realize it. Because if you've played or seen Puyo Puyo, then you know Mado Monogatari's characters. Because it was originally a spin-off of Mado Monogatari, and this is now like a collaboration with Sega because like Sega owns the characters now. So so it's very fascinating.
It's kind of like weirdly like the spin-off is now like the one that's going to be like the one that most people know, and it's like it was actually part of like a central RPG series before. So yeah, like as Chow mentioned, like there were more recent Mado Monogatari games, but they were never really follow-ups. They're more like re-releases or remakes or even spin-offs like Puyo Puyo.
Honestly,
titling as Mado Monogatari 4 is like kind of putting like a statement saying like, no, we're making like a real follow-up this time.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. They're kind of like first-person dungeon crawlers. They're actually quite difficult, actually.
Yeah, I heard they're difficult and they're like pretty like brutal, like graphically. Like there was actually like you can see blood in some of them.
I think I played the one on PC Engine. I'm like, okay, first enemy encounter, get fucking murdered.
Yeah, honestly though, like mentioning like how graphic the original Mado Monogataris are, I think the current like state of Compile Heart is probably in a good like spot to be able to kind of like handle that, because like what's the most recent like franchises that they've released that have been prolific? Death End Request. And what was the other one? Oh, right. Mary Skelter. Both of them are pretty like graphically violent. So it's like, I feel like they have the talent there that they could really do something. And hey, like you said, Dungeon RPG, it might be the Mary Skelter team working on it.
So. Yeah. So they mentioned this is going to be developed with Sting as well, along with D4 Enterprise, which are the current IP holders of the Mado Monogatari IP. And some of the they mentioned many of the original creators from like Compile that worked on Mado Monogatari are also involved in this project, including Sting's president.
Man, this is really cool, and I did look it up, and I was like, did they work on this? They did. Okay, yeah. So the Dungeon Travelers games, which funnily enough, I was talking about those a few months ago. Yeah, those were developed by Sting too, so they have recent experience with Dungeon RPGs. So. Yeah, this might for me be one of the coolest announcements of the entire year. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
It is very out of nowhere. I was like, yeah, it is crazier the more you look into it as well. So this is definitely a big surprise from this. So this is Mado Monogatari 4 is slated to release next summer in Japan. No platforms have been announced for it.
I'm importing this unless it's a day one like localization, then I'll play it that way. But I'm importing this otherwise.
Oh yeah, I want to see like screenshots and a trailer for this. I just want to know what it looks like. Like now that I like have like I was able to see like what the original Mado Monogatari games look like. I was like, okay, what does like a modern one of these built from the ground up in modern day tech, like what does it look like? It's I don't know. It's hard to think about. Another announcement is Compile Heart is also working on a new. So let me put it this. They're working on 2 Death End Request projects. One is the next numbered mainline entry, so Death End Request 3. They're working on, but that's further down the line. Before they release that, they're releasing a spin-off for it called Death End Request Code Xeon, and that'll be that it's a spin-off that's connecting, like it's connected to the 2 Death End Request mainline games that are already out. And then not much is known about it. They showed off 3 character designs. All they really mentioned is they like, since it's a spin-off title, they'll be incorporating new elements and like tackling new challenges because of its spin-off nature, whatever that means.
I hope it's a VN.
Yeah.
I hope it's just a VN too. To be honest, you're right.
have you played the first one, Josh? Or?
I played the first one, but I liked like the story of the VN.
Yes,
I didn't like the gameplay.
Yeah, eventually.
I wrote the same thing in the review.
I even reviewed the PC version. It's like if anyone's interested in those games, I'll just say 2 things. 1, they are worth playing. 2, set it to the easiest difficulty. The gameplay is not worth engaging with.
Yeah, I never finished it because I just couldn't stand the gameplay. But like, maybe even I do want to like learn more about like how that game unfolds.
Yeah, the story is great. It's just like, but the gameplay was just like, oh god. It's like, just make it VN at this point.
So this Code Xeon spinoff is also coming slated to release next summer in Japan. Man, it's gonna be a busy summer for them if they don't delay some of these. And no
level 5 tactic of announcing all of their games for a single time frame and then letting it slip at a trade show that, oh yeah, this is probably not coming out until next year. God.
I have to imagine not all of these are going to be in summer. I imagine some of these will be pushed back unless they just really want to compete with themselves really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the before ending the interview with Famitsu, Compile Heart mentioned at long last that they're finally making the next mainline numbered entry in the Hyperdimension Neptunia series, which is actually a pretty big deal for people who like Neptunia because like Mega Dimension Neptunia V2 was the last one they released, and that came out on the PlayStation 4 in Japan in April 2015. That was the last one they made of these mainline entries. And people have been wondering, like, Mega Dimension Neptunia, actually a pretty solid game, to be honest. Like, I enjoyed it. I was like, cool. I hope, like, I can't wait to see the next new, like, main one. And then that never fucking happened. They kept on making spin-offs and re-releases of, like, their old games. It's like, what the fuck happened? Where's the next mainline one? Did they forget? Are they just not
it feels like... It feels like for the last like couple years, like Compile Heart has been in a bit of a slump. Well, I guess Idea Factory in general has been in a bit of a slump where like, they've been releasing some games. Like I know like, but really it's just basically been like Mary Skelter games. And then
Ark of Alchemist,
which I wish I could legitimately erase that game from my memory. It is trauma, but it's like you said, like the last time that I felt like any sort of real positivity towards Idea Factory, and maybe that's a bit cynical to say, was when they released that like Neptunia game on PS4 and they had Fairy Fencer F Advent Dark Force, like Mary Skelter was coming out. It's like they were in a good spot. I want this new slate of releases to be a success for them because honestly, most of them sound really interesting. I want them to be successful. I want them to like be more ambitious because I feel like when they are ambitious and they follow through, it's like there's not many developers their size anymore. Like
absolutely.
It's like, you get like Falcom, which they release a game a year. Maybe they're releasing 2 games next year. You have like NIS, which even then they're like in a similar situation where it's like, I'm glad that Disgaea 7 did well because even though as much as I like Labyrinth of Valeria, it's like how many of their recent games have been successes? It's like, I don't know. It feels like we're in a weird spot with the not just the Japanese game industry, but like overall, where it's like all these small developers still exist. But
yeah, it's almost like the middle tier of like Japanese development, right? It's not as big as like Square Enix or Capcom, but it's not like fully indie.
yeah,
It's like more like that middle tier of like, hey, they're still working on stuff, but it doesn't feel like they haven't like had like a strong presence or been super relevant. It feels like that they're kind of like in a weird like almost transition instead of like what they want to what direction they want to take next. And I think that's really emblematic here because they even mentioned in an interview like why did it take so long for the next Neptunia game to be in development, and then they said production of the game kicked off barely 2 years ago when like a small group of key staff, including producer Naoko Mizuno and series illustrator Sunako, like discussed what they wanted to like include in the game. And then now that they actually have like a clear direction of where they want to take it, that's where they really started to kick off in development because it took them so long to like kind of figure out like where do we want to take this next installment, and that's like kind of a hard. It must be really difficult, especially in like what Neptunia likes to do, right? It's like almost a parody of the game industry. It's like, what the fuck is the game industry anymore then?
yeah. I will definitely say though that it sounds like perhaps now more than like ever before, the company has a very strong vision for itself, and good. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how this turns out.
So
I
the
hope it
next
turns out
Neptunia
well.
game is not going to be about console wars. It's going to be about acquisitions and layoffs.
And I'll be battle passes and live services everywhere in that game. But oh man, but yeah, I hopefully this like management shakeup at Compile Heart definitely gets them in the right direction. All of these like projects that they've laid out, like you said, like sound interesting on paper, and I really want to see how they pull it off. Like the Calamity Angels game, like that sounds really cool in concept, but I really want to see how they pull it off. So it was an unexpected amount of like Compile Heart this week, but honestly, it's like I come away from it hopefully optimistic. I'm just like hoping that like I want to be excited for their games again. It feels like it's been a while since I've like been excited for a Compile Heart game.
I always kind of get the impression that Compile Heart just makes way too many things and there's not enough quality put to it. That's how I see it. It's like a quantity over quality.
I also think that like they just kind of re-release stuff like too much to like in a way that like kind of feels like for example, they remember they released a PlayStation 5 exclusive re-release of the remake of the first Neptunia game that was the remake.
Yeah, and they even like kind of pointed out how like how much they were re-releasing that game because the name of that like title was it's really a big emphasis on 5 because it's the 5th re-release on the PlayStation 5.
It's like, come on, man. Like this is fucking stupid, So it's just I don't. Yeah. So hopefully, this is a new bright future for them. Hopefully. I know Adam has a lot of thoughts on this.
Not just Adam.
Adam, in the middle of I guess it was 6 p.m. Pacific on October 4th, Spike Chunsoft officially announced the Western release of Shiren the Wanderer: The Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island for Switch on February 27th, 2024. And this was recently like leaked by like another like retailer's site like a week ago, I believe.
I think it wasn't VGP, was it? Was it someone else?
I think it was VGP.
It was VGP. Okay.
So this Shiren the Wanderer 6, which is a roguelike mystery dungeon game, and we were talking about spin-offs of other games just with the Monogatari game. Shiren the Wanderer is technically a Dragon Quest spin-off, but anyways, the Japanese Nintendo Direct, like 2 or 3 weeks back, had this game announced, but Spike Chunsoft's Western branches didn't say anything, which is sort of weird. And then like it leaked, and then the store page was taken down. And I guess the question is like, well, why haven't they announced the English localization yet? If it's already ready to go, like you have an English title, you have some English translated screenshots and everything, English logo, and they just didn't announce it at the time. And it was kind of like, what are they waiting for? And then they did announce it. They kind of announced the English translation, the English localization, they announced it in the evening for Americans, or like dead of night for Europeans, because it was announced alongside in Japan time for some reason. And so they announced the localization at like, I think it was like 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the Japanese Nintendo Direct that was earlier this month was actually like during the day for us. And like they could have announced it then, but they didn't. But anyways, announcement oddness aside, yeah. So this game is officially coming out. It's coming out like 2 days before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'll probably pick this up because I'm waiting for the PC version of Rebirth anyway. But yeah, this is the 6th Shiren the Wanderer game.
Also the first one in over a decade, because like the version that we've most recently played, like Shiren the Wanderer, the Tower of Fortune, the Dice of Fate, what a fucking like mouthful. That was it's a port of a re-release of a DS game that came out in like what 2010, and like
I played the Vita version, and I think you did
too,
which was
I played the Vita version,
like 4 years after the DS version or whatever it was.
Well, yeah, more than that, and it's like yeah, I mean, I'm super excited for this. I actually just went to the Japanese site to like find out if because it's such a close proximity to the Japanese release. I was wondering, does the Japanese release have English? No, it has Japanese and Chinese text only, but I still might import it, or I don't know.
So this game is using like 3D models now rather than 2D sprites. And by the way, the title of this game in English, I guess they decided for this series they're not going to use numbers because some of the original games were never localized. The title of this game is The Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island. Now, what's sort of funny is this trailer. It's just like a translated version of the Japanese trailer. And the Japanese trailer shows like versions of all the games, and like this is the 6th one. The English version shows the same thing, which is sort of amusing because a lot of those games never got translated. I think 1, 2, and 4 never did. 3
it used to be a thing. Yeah, there was a remake of the original game on DS that got localized, and then 3, which I think was the Wii one, also got localized, and then it was a running joke in the community for a while where it's like, we only get the odd numbers because we got 1, 3, and 5. We didn't get 2, 4. Now we're getting 6, so the curse is broken.
Finally broke the curse.
Okay, and I guess the most recent issue of Famitsu had a few more details. This is actually from our translator, Kite. Shiren can make his own body gigantic by eating lots of rice balls. The gigantic body will make him stronger, but there'll also be some sort of disadvantage. And there's like
I'm guessing you can only move once every 2 turns or something like that. It's a
Metal Slug problem.
And then there's apparently also gigantic monsters on the field. I guess they're almost like an FOE they almost sound like an FOE from Etrian Odyssey, where it's you will do very little damage to them. They'll roam certain floors, and they can disappear if not engaged. And Kite's translation says, the current build has no bonus rewards for defeating them, but the dev team may consider further adjustments to add some rewards.
I love that.
So it feels more like almost like a floor hazard rather than an enemy to defeat.
Yeah, and I also, one thing I noticed from the Japanese site is it outright says, yeah, this is the first game in 14 years.
Yeah.
Is this the direction that the Japanese games are going now? It's like our new gimmick is big. Go giant. Like Disgaea 7 has that jumboification feature where you can like turn a unit into like a giant pretty much off the board. So that's the next gimmick every Japanese games will have. It's like you're bigger now.
Well, look forward to that in the next Neptunia game.
I was just making that joke in Metal Slug. When you become fat, your guns get like 10 times stronger for some reason.
Yeah, that and Metaphor or whatever, or Persona 6, one of those, you're big now. You just really get big. Let's see here. A few more little smaller news
I guess.
bits.
Lastly, on Shiren, it's a Switch exclusive for now.
Yes.
So I actually might hesitate on if I pick it up or not. Like, man.
It'll probably eventually come out on PC.
It could be years.
Damn, why does everyone hate the Switch, guys? Why?
No. I like the Switch well enough, and I mean this is a mystery dungeon game. It's not going to be a big difference. Yeah. Honestly, I'm curious. Wondering if I should reach out to Spike Chunsoft because like when they, I can talk about this. Like, had a meeting with them during TGS, and it was actually the Japanese side of things. So I might actually reach out to them saying, "Hey, I can read Japanese well enough. I'd love to review the Japanese version of this, or we would love to review the Japanese version of this, or something. I don't know."
Yeah, if you want to do it, do it. Let's see. Gothic 1 on Switch recently came out, and soon after that, they have announced over at THQ Nordic and Piranha Bytes that Gothic 2 Complete Classic is coming to the Nintendo Switch on November 29. For you Gothic heads who wanted to play it on Switch. And that's this will have all the expansions. So this new port is called the Complete Classic because it has the Night of the Raven expansion, which released in 2003 as well, shortly after the base release of Gothic 2.
What's sort of funny is that I guess these versions of Gothic have some like bug fixes and tweaks and other things, which exist for the PC version, but kind of like as mods, I suppose, because the PC versions are old.
Yeah.
So it's like in a way, not including mods, like these are technically the best versions of Gothic, like versus the PC
Out of the
version.
box, you don't have to
Yeah.
like mod it. Yeah, okay,
Um,
I remember we did that for Gothic 1. Like, I think a whole complete list. I was like, holy shit, that is
Yeah.
a big ass list
Now I
of
don't know if this game
fixes.
is similar, but I was referring to one.
Yeah.
Gothic is a game that if you're like from Europe, especially like Eastern Europe, I guess, because I guess these games are German originally. It seems to have like if you're of a certain age and you grew up, playing games, computer games in like the early 2000s, Gothic was probably something you played and has a following. And I know some people who are really big fans of the games, especially the first one. So it's like maybe someday when I have more time than I do now, I will check it out. Switch versions, it's kind of just like an interesting act of almost preservation in a way. Like, hey, we're taking this
Yeah.
game, it's now on a modern console. I mean, it's obviously still on PC, you can still get it, but it's just kind of an interesting decision to re-release these games. I actually even saw I saw this on Twitter and I don't remember exactly where it was, so I apologize if I get some of the details wrong. But it was either an MMA fighter or an AEW fighter or some sort of professional wrestler who was from like Europe, and I think he had like an Austrian accent or maybe a Russian accent of some sort. And he was being asked about RPGs, even though he's like a wrestler. And he's like, "Well, I like Witcher, I like Cyberpunk, those are fine, but you know what's really great? Gothic. You need to check it out."
That's awesome. I love that.
So
Yep.
Hell yeah, man, that's amazing.
That kind of reminds me of those times like when you watch WWF and those people that brings like those posters saying like FF9 is like the greatest or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of type of thing.
like Final Fantasy VIII is better than Tactics or whatever.
Actually true.
Fucking hot take.
Next up, we have For the King 2, which I did check out at PAX Fest, or before PAX Fest technically. I really like that. That got a release date. That's coming out on November 2nd for PC. And it's going to be priced pretty reasonably. It's at coming out at $24.99 USD, 19.99. Oh, I don't know what that is. This the pound or the euro? I don't know the.
I don't know.
19.99 and 24.99, either pound or euro.
You'll find out when you pay.
I mean, you can go check up the
1999 pound, 24.99 euro.
Thank you. I don't know the symbols between pound and euro.
That's like twice the price in Canadian.
And yeah, so yeah, November 2nd, and then I wrote up my preview on it when I got to check out at PAX. Obviously the big feature here that every For the King 1 player wanted was, hey, please support up to 4 players. And so they're doing that, and they revamped the whole battle system to support that, and making it more tactically challenging all around. Still a tough game, but you have to manage between like front row and back rows, and like moving to tactical positions now on that that kind of like new grid-based, turn-based battle system. So yeah, that'll be coming out just next month, and a lot of people are excited because the For the King 1 definitely found its audience, became a huge hit for people who wanted to play cooperatively RPG. So yeah, so that's cool. This one's really cool too. we unveiled it here. I got to interview Keizo, the developer of Astlibra Revision. Astlibra Revision is coming to Nintendo Switch on November 16. They announced Keizo and Whisper Games announced that it'll launch digital. It'll only receive a digital launch. There's no physical version. It'll be priced at $24.99 USD. And this originally came out on PC via Steam last year in October. And like I said earlier about that Switch version, we announced it first, baby. That's right.
We did.
That's right. Um,
Do you know that this comes with like the DLC segment, or
Keizo is still working on the Baker's Daughter DLC, so that's not gonna be. It's not even gonna be out on PC for a while. He's still developing it. He shared some clips of it on his Twitter, but it's still in active development. He only showed off test demo footage of it, so we have no release date on that yet because it's still in development. But this I assume this release on Nintendo Switch will have the updated localization of the game because they recently patched that game a few months back to have a more refined English script for lines to flow better.
Yeah, I played the prologue, and it's a huge improvement in my opinion. I know I have a friend that still stands by the original translation because it reminds him more of like the Super Nintendo days of translation kind of stories. But that's his take. But I totally prefer the new one. But you have the option to switch to the old one. So if you don't like the new one, you can switch back to
the Steam version. I don't know if they have that option on the Nintendo Switch version.
Obviously, the new one it would be set to default. So
well, I think on Steam it's like literally you put in a beta code, it go like you literally like revert a version. So I don't know if the Switch version is just going to have a toggle. I'm going to doubt it.
Yeah, but we'll see. So yeah, for people who haven't played this game, have been waiting for the Switch version, highly recommend playing this game if you like. If you want a side-scrolling action RPG that's more like in line with like older East games.
More like East 3.
It's a very versatile game where you can kind of if you want to like play a certain way, go for it. It doesn't punish you. There's a lot of like customization systems on like just to encourage like what do you have fun with.
I wonder, have James finished this game now, or this Switch version is what you've been waiting for?
I have a Steam Deck. I can play it on Steam Deck. I've been waiting for the translation. I know it's out, but this year has been such an avalanche of RPGs, especially long RPGs. I've just not had the time. Plus, even beyond that, I've just been so busy this year.
Yeah.
So it's not like you went to TGS or anything like that.
It's not like I did Summer Game Fest, a bunch of preview events and Anime Expo too.
A star MVP player.
Oh God.
Yeah, so when people find the time, hopefully more people will give this game a shot. And like if you've been, once again, if you've waited for it on Switch, it's gonna be coming out very soon. So definitely check it out. Taya's recommendations here. It made our top 10 list last year. Chow put up his review of the PC version.
It's my game of the year for that year, at least in my opinion. For me,
yeah. I have a very high opinion of it too. So, a big milestone here for CD Projekt Red. They announced that Cyberpunk 2077 has surpassed 25 million units sold, and their Phantom Liberty DLC is off to a pretty good start, passing 3 million. So that's a rocky launch at the end of December, at the end of 2020 in December. But the new 2.0 update is out along with the Phantom Liberty DLC. Personally, I've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk 2077. I just barely started the Phantom Liberty DLC at 36 hours in, and I've enjoyed that a lot. So, I started it for the first time. I really like the new progression systems in that game. I don't really I'm glad I started it now instead of like earlier versions of that game. So this is like my definitive playthrough of that game.
I need to start this.
I don't know. I feel like my impression from reading people, it feels like even the base game was very good to begin with. It was just buggy. It sounds
I think there's a lot of it's night and day when you see comparisons of like how this game was like 1.0 versus 2.0, like how just how interactive the world is, the way that like the way you interact with stuff, the environment, and especially like the way you progress through the game, like character building. It's very night and day for in that end. So I recommend you check out like all the numerous YouTube videos that look into that, because I saw some of them like, holy shit, I'm glad that I started 2.0. But I think the one thing that I kind of miss after like talking to some people and seeing some of the videos is like the thing that they did with this game in 2.0 is that everything has like level scaling to you now, so all the enemies that you encounter will be relatively around your level. While in like earlier versions of that game, there's like aspects of the world that had like higher level enemies and like lower level enemies. So like you want to avoid this district because there are like level 30 enemies.
I'm gonna be honest, that's like that's the most negative thing I've heard about this update. Like I'd heard nothing but good things, but as one of those people that does not like level scaling in RPGs, I like it when there's like specific pockets of the world. It's like I hear that and it's like, oh man, I wish there was an option to turn it off.
Can you imagine if a game like I don't know why this is what popped in my head, but could you imagine if a game like Xenoblade Cross had level scaling?
Oh man, I would not like that.
No. Cross has like those danger zones and
no, it's like that's what makes it it's like the story lets you know that the world is so dangerous, and then the gameplay it showcases that. It's like
so I, like like there are certain parts of the like in Cyberpunk it's like, oh, you want to avoid that area till like a much later part. So yeah, that's kind of the major change up that like that really that I saw,
and it's nice, and it's sort of nice when there isn't level scaling, when you are powered up 30-40 hours in the game and you return to like an earlier zone. There is that sort of cool feeling of like, these guys are pathetic now. I remember when these guys gave me trouble 20 hours ago, and now I can stomp all over them, and now you lose that, so, if they scale up to you.
Yeah, but but I do have a pretty good build now. I kind of have like a psychopath sort of katana build where like there's a lot of damage mitigation, as I'm only using a katana to like slice everything up. And like a stealth, maybe I'll use it sometimes, but if things go south, it's okay. I'll just cut off everyone's heads and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Now, as a point of comparison, so obviously 25 million units is a lot.
Yeah.
The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is at 50 million units.
Yes.
And I think that just goes to show like, wow, Witcher 3 was kind of a massive success, and then it got like a second wind with the Netflix adaptation.
I wonder
and
what
then a third wind with the Switch version, because I know the Switch version sold really well.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder what their internal expectations were for Cyberpunk now. Like, since is this still like?
Speaking of Cyberpunk adaptations.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yes. Thank you. CD Projekt Red also announced, along with their milestone update, is they're partnering with Anonymous Content to develop a live-action Cyberpunk 2077 project that's still in early development. Anonymous Content produce shows such as True Detective and Mr. Robot. So, obviously, we'll see if this will like rejuvenate interest in Cyberpunk once again. Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Yeah, the Edgerunners anime is really, really good, and that got a lot of people to go check out Cyberpunk. There's even like there's more Edgerunners content and winks and nods in 2.0 that they added in, because like that anime is so beloved.
This kind of makes me wonder. Maybe if Final Fantasy 15 did a different approach, instead of releasing the cross media products before the actual product launch, maybe they should release it after to get people to re-interest in the game instead. Maybe they should have done that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got like the Cyberpunk like story content has kind of grown on me as I've played. Like I really like chatting with Keanu Reeves in it. To be honest, I really like his Johnny Silverhand character, and there's some cool characters throughout it.
How can you not love Johnny?
And then even though I'm starting the Phantom Liberty DLC, like I'm now past kind of like the opening section into like now I can kind of explore the new Dogtown area on my own, like some of the characters that you're introduced to, like the Myers, and also like the new Netrunner, seem pretty neat. So also I haven't seen Idris Elba yet. I think I'm on my way to maybe meet him in the next story beat. But yeah, I need to delve more into it. So it's kind of I just kind of been playing it at my own pace and just kind of I'm not really rushing through it. Yeah. So
And
We'll
you are
see.
playing on PC, right?
Yeah, I'm playing on PC as well.
I wonder how good the game runs on my graphics card now. I'm curious to try it.
Yeah,
Though.
I have it on high settings on my 3080. I think I have DLSS, like the auto DLSS or some sort of like upscaling or whatever AI shit.
Well, wait. I asked this question in the last podcast. Did James get a chance to try out FSR free with Forspoken?
No, why would I boot up Forspoken when I have East 10 to play?
He really wants you to check out FSR.
Hey, it's trying to justify my graphic card purchase, okay?
Why don't you just buy Forspoken and check it out?
That's right. Uh-huh.
No, I don't want to give Square Enix that money.
Well, here's the thing. You don't even need to buy Forspoken. It has a demo on Steam.
Hmm?
No way, I don't play demos.
No way. Demos.
Downloading the demo of Forspoken would be less of a waste of money than buying Forspoken.
Al really hates demos. Okay,
He's a very
apparently.
principled person. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what you call Chow? Anti-demo Chow. You know.
Damn, that sounds racist.
You just
Racist
said so
against
yourself.
buddy or something. I don't know.
God damn it. Another milestone here. Fate Samurai Remnant has surpassed 300,000 units worldwide in its first week. I have to imagine they're happy with this. I wonder what their internal expectations were, but I feel like 300,000 is a way bigger number than I would have thought for this game.
Isn't this like amazing numbers?
No idea. So that's the
The
thing.
only thing I can
Like,
think of is Persona 5 Strikers in 2021. So this was 2 months after the English release, which was about a year after the Japanese release, sold 1.3 million. Now that's Omega Force, but that's also Persona, where this is Fate. But spin-offs of a larger franchise. So that was like the one point of comparison I was thinking. Like, okay, Persona 5 Strikers after a year was just above 1 million. And that was a weird staggered release. So like, I don't know, that's a point of comparison for a spin-off franchise Musou type RPG.
Yeah, I wonder. Hopefully, I don't know. I have no idea. I assume this might be a success for them, but I have no idea what their expectations were for it either.
Like,
But
I'm seeing like in the Famitsu like sales chart, it's like the number one thing in there most of it.
Yeah, I think it outsold East 10 even, right?
East 10, like all platforms combined, is about on par with what East 9 did at launch. So it's like some people have been like doom and gloom about it, but it's like
it's not really doom and gloom. It's still 45K. It's just it's not
and,
like all
and like
not staggered. It's split up.
Yeah, and also ever since like COVID, digital like has been a bit better. So it's like all in all, it's fine. But yeah.
Obviously, I wish there was more success, but can't get everything.
So that's. I wonder. I would be shocked if this game's lifetime sales ever reach 1 million, because that'd be great. I would like that, but man, that'd be gigantic.
I think it will. It will, specifically because it's on PC, and not only is PC growing in Japan, but like Steam sales and all that, which I know Koei Tecmo Steam sales doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So
I'm still waiting for them to. They're never gonna do it because I think they don't have the license anymore. But I'm still waiting for their Arslan Warriors of Legend or whatever game to get a discount on Steam. I still have that at the top of my wish list because I really want to get that, but I don't want to pay a full price for it. And no other site has like keys for it anymore because it's so old. So it's just.
I actually read the story of the books. God, that is the biggest train wreck when it gets to the end.
I only watched like the first whatever anime seasons came out for it.
They adapt the good part. Once it gets to the time skip, it basically jumps to the shark times a billion.
I just went to the Steam page of this game, and it's like still $60.
Yeah. It's $60 for the longest time.
From and the game was released in 2016. It's like 8 years old, 7 years old.
I think, Josh, if I show you the Amazon reviews for the last 2 books, they have like a 1.5 star rating.
Oh
out
my
of 5.
god, dude! Don't tell me that. I really liked the show. I was like, oh man, I wish they made more seasons. And now I
That's why
hear
they don't want. That's why they don't want to adapt anything past the
oh,
time skip.
oh fuck. I really liked it. Well, thanks for ruining my dreams, Chow. Fuck you.
Okay, thank you.
It's sort of funny is I guess Koei Tecmo literally has a sale going on right now. And when you go to that Arslan's page, like there's a banner there, like Koei Tecmo sale, but it doesn't include this game.
I feel like they lost you can still sell the game, but I think they lost the or I think they lost the ability to be able to put it on discount anymore. Probably.
You know what I would want if they actually release this game? Get
What?
the Amino artwork as a DLC armors, because the
yeah.
original OVA was adapted from the series using Yoshitaka Amino art in there, right? So it's his art coming to life, which is very cool. I mean, even the main character looks like a Final Fantasy character with the way the original version looks like.
It's always difficult to adapt his artwork into 3D. That's the thing. It's always I don't know if any game has done it successfully.
Final Fantasy 14. I mean, Endwalker. They have one boss that looks like his artwork captured perfectly.
Okay.
Wow, it's a pretty big spoiler. It's an Endwalker thing.
The Endwalker. And then lastly here, to cap off our news section, we have a new trailer for Persona 5 Tactica, showcasing the rest of the Phantom Thieves.
So in case you're not familiar with the Phantom Thieves, you can get introduced to them.
Holy, who's in the Phantom Thieves?
I don't know.
Morgana, go to bed.
and then also on top of that they have Akechi and Kasumi as the DLC characters. Yeah.
Atlas DLC.
Atlas DLC.
We love Atlas.
Did anyone get the chance to check out that Persona 5 mobile game?
Oh, the one in China?
Whatever it was.
The Persona 5 DX or something.
I
forgot what it's called.
Is that supposed to be canon? I've heard it was supposed to be canon.
Look, if you ask Alice, everything is canon. Even the Persona Q games are canon according to them. So if you trust the words of the developers, every Persona spinoff is canon according to them. If you actually believe that, then I don't know what to tell you.
It's okay. The Persona 3 and 5 dancing games can be canon, especially since it literally all happens while they're asleep, so nothing happens.
Well, Persona Q, like Josh is saying, it literally is just this technically is canon and happened, just everybody forgot about it and it took place in a pocket of time that disappeared or something. Okay.
Okay.
It's still wild how Persona 4 Dancing All Night is canonically a sequel to the arena games and actually makes some references to them, and it's that would never happen these days.
So yeah, Persona 5 Tactica coming out November 17th still for pretty much all platforms. Yeah, even Switch.
I thought it was an Xbox exclusive. That's a joke.
We can't say that out loud, or else Microsoft and Atlas and Sega are gonna get that. We have to pretend they're Xbox exclusives, according to the trailer. Probably to Xbox game only.
For 2 days.
For 2 days. And yeah, that's everything that pretty much happened in World RPGs this week. On a pretty nice, slow, relaxed week. We don't know. Are there any new releases coming out next week?
I want to say yes.
The Lords of the Fallen is the big one.
Oh
yeah. That's a big one.
There's
it's Lords of the Fallen, not the Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah, that's what
both of us were correct. Yeah, that's what we said.
Okay.
Now there's a bunch of smaller games. There's the first 4 Mercenaries indie RPGs, indie scale RPGs are coming out to for Steam. That's Mercenary Saga, Mercenary Saga 2, 3.
I thought they were already on Steam. Just
nope.
Okay.
There are 7 of those games, and the first 4 were never on Steam, but now they are. There's the PlayStation 5 version of Honkai Star Rail.
There you go.
Oh no, wait. No, yeah, that's next week. Okay. And I think there's a couple of other indie games. There's the console version of Long Gone Days.
Okay.
That's like an indie kind of narrative war
I
RPG from some
I guess that's
Chilean
also
developers.
that's also like reaching 1.0 then with the
Yeah,
console version
so it's
release,
already
right?
on Steam, but it's getting like the 1.0 update. And then
Okay.
there's a Ukrainian Fallout like called Space Wreck, which is coming
Oh,
out.
Interesting.
Yep.
all right.
Tough
Okay.
question. Is there anything special for Thanksgiving this year?
What do you mean
Oh.
for Canadian Thanksgiving?
Oh, we're already past Canadian Thanksgiving. I don't know why
Oh.
ours is a month before yours.
Wait, but when's Canadian Thanksgiving? What the fuck?
It's like October 3rd, I think.
Oh, so it was this week?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How's your Canadian
was-
Thanksgiving, Chow?
I'm Chinese. I don't know anything about Thanksgiving
But you're
culture,
Canadian
okay?
also.
Yeah, but I was born Chinese, so I grew up in the Chinese household, and we came over here.
Well,
We don't know what the hell Thanksgiving is.
well,
I'm
the
sorry,
American
guys.
Thanksgiving is late November. It'll be like right after Tactica comes out or whatever, and after Mario RPG remake. So
I haven't been thought about Thanksgiving until like right now. You mentioned it. I'm like, oh yeah.
The only reason I mentioned it now is because we had it a week ago. Technically.
I don't know what's coming out around Thanksgiving this year, to be honest.
it's Tactica and Super Mario RPG basically.
There
And
you
then
go.
afterwards, there's the Gothic 2 on Switch.
There.
Yep.
Hell yeah. So yeah, I guess Gothic 2 on Switch is like the closest RPG release to Thanksgiving Day.
Oh wait, I lied. It is October 9th. It's
You don't
Monday.
even
That
know what
tells you how-
Canadian Thanksgiving is.
That tells
It's
you how
this week.
ignorant
Do
I
you
am.
get to work on Monday?
No.
If you get
All the
the day
Canadians
off?
are so mad at you right now because they're like, "What the fuck?" Like us are just dumb Americans. We're like, we don't even know what Canadian Thanksgiving
I
is.
guess I'm getting deported because I don't know my holidays.
Yeah, so there's that. I guess they deport Chinese people in Canada because they don't know holidays too, according to you.
Well, that's
So you
what they do
hate
in
demos
America.
and you're getting deported. That's true. That's true. All right. Well, that's everything that we have for now. You can check us out at rpgsite.net. You can check us out on Twitter/X on at RPG site. You can check out our Facebook at facebook.com/rpgsite.net. You can visit us on YouTube at youtube.com/rpgsite.net and see and listen to this podcast over there at YouTube. You can also listen to our podcast via by searching up the Tetracast on your favorite podcast app, and iTunes or Spotify. I guess Brian over at our staff chat a few days ago said that Google is killing another one of its
Yeah, I guess Google
apps.
Podcast is dying.
So you will no longer be able to search up for us.
Yeah,
on Google
I don't know.
Podcasts.
I don't know if anyone listened to us on there. I know people do listen to us on Apple Podcasts, but I don't know.
So,
I still miss
so-
Google Reader. Rip Google Reader.
It's
And
so
that's-
funny seeing some people like just take Google's word for it when they said, "Oh yeah, the new Pixel is going to have 7 years of support," and it's like, I don't believe you. I'll
Or
believe
Google
it when I
Plus.
see it.
yeah, speaking of Google, they're also make sure if you have a Stadia controller to enable Bluetooth on that in the next few months because they're going to shut that down to enable Bluetooth on it. Apparently, yeah.
Does
So
Chow have a Stadia controller?
No. Please,
You have like
someone
every
find me one.
controller. You should get a Stadia one.
Chow is actively looking for someone to give them to get their Stadia controller from. So if you have a Stadia controller that you don't want to use, send it to Chow, I guess. And you can also visit our Discord over at discord.com/invite/RPG site. People have been talking about, I don't know, RPGs sometimes there.
A lot of
Talk about-
fake memes.
They do
I think,
talk about Fate a lot
I
there.
think we have a vanity link where we can just literally, it would be discord.gg/RPG site. You don't need the invite part of it.
Oh,
Yeah, we do. Yeah. So you can
yeah.
find us at discord.gg/RPG site.
Why do we have the old link on our podcast document? What are we doing?
Because Brian never updated it.
God damn it, Brian. So we've been giving them wrong info for how many years now? It's over.
I think Brian's
I'm
been
pretty
saying discord.gg.rpg site. He just never wrote it down.
Ah. All right. Well, you can visit us there. And yeah, that's it. That's it for the Tetracast. See you guys next week. And hopefully, we'll see what the next week brings. Hopefully it's all cool news and no more bad news. Bad news is banned. Until next time.
Anyways, you guys want to talk about how we pronounce a certain character in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
No.
God damn it. God
Bye,
damn it,
everyone.
Adam.